What's going on, Soul Tribe? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to my channel, Alchemist. Justin here, and bringing a little nugget to add to the Soul Tribe archive. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Venus and Cancer in the 7th house. And this is a lovely place, I think, for Venus to be. Now, when you talk about the good old Venus, the nature of Venus is to really just make this life more enjoyable. Venus brings about great relationships into our lives, helps us to attract the things and people that we love, and creates harmony and concord, and really teaches us the kind of appreciation for the senses in this world, for the sound of music, for the taste of good food, for the sound of good conversation, the feel of a comfy rug, or whatever, or whatever sense that the smells, the smelling of the flowers and things. Those are very Venusian type things, and Venus is known as the lesser benefic, but you don't sleep on the powers of Venus. And Venus is one, especially in a night chart, that's going to be the benefic that you want to go to, because that's going to be the most beneficial planet in a night chart. So you want to have a good relationship with Venus. Now, when you talk about Cancer, Cancer is ruled by the moon, and they are the cardinal water sign, and they are receptive or yin in nature. And Cancer is really tuned into the cycles, what's going on in its environment. It can feel the ebbs and flows of the energy, really kind of feel, its way around a room. And that's what really can help it give partway to those senses, that sensitivity that Cancer has. That's how what gives them those strong kind of nurturing qualities. Whether it looks like, oh, you could use some water, or oh, you could use a blanket, or oh, let me get you a fan, or oh, let me get you some food. That nurture, that's that Cancerian power, that ability to know what other people are feeling. To really kind of sense when things are off. To know how to navigate around different emotions there. But Cancer too, being ruled by the moon, how the moon waxes and wanes, being the cardinal water sign, their feelings wax and wane. So there is a bit of or can be a bit of a reactive energy to Cancer, but also because those emotions are always stirring too, there is, I think, a real strong kind of creative capacity to Cancer. It just depends on when it feels right. But then when you get to the 7th house, the 7th house in ancient astrology was known as the setting house, and this is a solid house. It's one of the angular houses, and some of the themes that it's going to cover deal with like relationships, marriage, partners, and just like other people in general, just kind of just one-on-one relationships, you and the other. That's going to be, well, you are the first house, the other is the 7th house. And it can also be like themes of living abroad can also come up in this house. So when you're working with this placement, a few things to consider. One, you would have a Capricorn rising by whole sign, and you're going to want to look to the moon, because the moon's going to be responsible for this house. And then Venus is going to import the themes of the 10th house to this house, which deal with like career, advancements, reputation, and superiors, and also dealing with that 5th house, which deals with like children, pregnancies, pleasures, and sex. So one thing that's really strong here, just having Venus in the 7th house in general, being Venus very angular here, Venus relationships powers are turned up, in the 7th house. That is going to be one that's going to be very important. And I think with this Cancer energy, I think that there could be this one, I think, really strong collaboration that could happen. This could maybe, you might find yourself maybe attracting a lot of watery type people. I would, if you're able to find out if people have, find out their placements. See if you attract people with maybe kind of prominent like Cancer placements or moon placements, or maybe even like Venus placements, and even like kind of heavy Taurus or Libra. I could see those maybe kind of energies maybe kind of floating around in some kind of capacity there. That's something it's always kind of fun to check out when you have those kind of 7th house placements. But I could see this as, entertain having some sort of partner, whether that be, even if it's just as like a hobby sort of thing, because who knows, maybe you happen to build computers with a friend, or maybe you happen to have a band with someone, maybe you happen to play in someone's living room or something like that. Go out on the tour, take that out on the road. Who knows what that might look like? Go play out somewhere. It could be something where you could end up, maybe because that 5th house as a house of good fortune, you may get some sort of like accolades for that. Who knows, that could become a career, do very well in that. So, but I would think just in general, have something where, think about the things that you do like, that you are good at, the skills that you want to hone, whether it be music, whether it be technology, whether it be math, whether it be whatever it is that you just find yourself a natural at. Find a teacher for that. Find someone who helps nurture those skills. Really, that really kind of helps you to really feel what you're doing. Feel that math. I think cancer will help you find that. But yeah, I think that could be very, something very important or very prevalent, maybe in something like pay attention just again to the relationships that you form, and, don't take those for granted. I think that, and there may be too, learning how to deal with the different types of feelings, maybe being a Capricorn, maybe if you have a lot of heavy earth, where it's not that earth signs don't feel, but not like water signs feel. So that might be something where maybe the water energies are trying to help you to tap into something there. And in turn, maybe you are there to help, again, be kind of like a grounded force for them. I think when earth and water are working well, it can be very nice. But that marriage may obviously, because even the 10th house can deal with marriage, so that may be something there. And then you throw 5th house, get a kid in the mix there, and that's a recipe for a really happy home, happy family. Well, at least a happy family. We got to look to see what the 4th house is doing. but I think that could be something where there could be that opportunity there for you, if that's something that you're open to. I'd make sure to just like, because I think one thing, whether it be Cancer or any other relationships, but just thinking with it being, having Cancer placements here and having my son in Cancer, I know that when Cancer, falls in love, you can't cancel nurture yet. So, making sure to let intentions be known if that's not where you're ready to be at. Maybe you are more kind of focused on career right now, and maybe there's a different pace. It's not that it will never happen, but it's just like maybe a little later than maybe one person may expect there. So it's just, figuring out where that happy medium is. So that may be something where just, learning how to harmonize Venus in relationships. And maybe even easier than you think, even though having those maybe sort of like tougher conversations, if there, when there are some, because it's not going to be like Venus erases all relationship issues. There's going to be some where, and that's another thing too, to really kind of check into, what are we doing in this relationship? What are our, like I said, what are our intentions, but what are we creating in this? How are we being seen right now? And not that we're worried about other people, but what are we building in this? Because I think too, to keep in mind, where when when relationships do go awry, sometimes we need to know what we don't want in things, in relationships or in anything in life, really, to know what we do want, what we will be, willing to put up with, where we'll compromise, and where like, no, that's going to be a hard no, or, or that's a definite yes. So, that's just something I think to really kind of pay attention to, again, to all relationships, and pay attention to how they make you feel, that maybe just from time to time, just to kind of do evaluations, maybe especially when you find yourself either in like where Cancer is the sign of the year for you, if you're in like where Venus is the time lord, that may be something to just kind of pay attention to, any sort of like big sort of things that happen in relationships. So yeah, that would be another thing that I kind of talk a little bit. And if relationships is something on your mind, there's a little technique there with zodiacal releasing, where you can release from Eros, and see where they're really kind of pivotal relationships. So that might be something that you want to maybe even kind of look into, or maybe something that you can learn, something that someone can teach you. You form a relationship with an astrologer. That was tasteless. But yeah, I overall I like this placement for Venus, and it's like, of course, there are always things that go on with this. It's going to depend on how Venus is placed. If there are any malefics overcoming Venus, or how the moon is positioned, what the moon's doing, because the moon's always doing a lot. So, but this would be some kind of basic things that I would talk about with someone in this placement. You definitely need the rest of the chart to work with this. Oh, one other thing, maybe working with, one other thing I'm thinking about, maybe working with with like children in some sort of capacity, whether that's maybe working as a mentor for kids. Maybe you give kids lessons on something, again, whether it's building, crafting, music, or maybe you work at, maybe you do like maybe like a doula, or maybe you do something where you're like a pregnancy nurse, or I know there's a better term for that, and there's a term for the doctor too that's escaping me. So baby doctor, maybe you're a baby doctor. So that may be something where the sort of children has maybe kind of been around your place, or maybe that's something you want to maybe entertain, working with kids, and that's some sort of capacity there, because I could see Venus being a natural. But yeah, that's would be, yeah, if you have this, if you have this placement or know someone who's working with this placement, down in the comment section, let us know what's going on with that, because I would love to hear how this would show, how this has kind of come to life, because this seems like this would be a really nice placement for Venus to be in. So, but if you want to explore this placement more, or again, want to see what's going on as far as like any sort of like what transits are going on, and see if you're what kind of perfection year you're in, what transit to keep eye on, or maybe you want to do some, have an election that you want to have cast, or whatever that might look like for you. Down in the description box, there's a link to book a consultation for me, or to book a consultation with me. And if you want to book me one too, I guess that's fine. But also, if you have any questions or anything about the services that I provide, my email's down there as well, so definitely feel free to reach out to me. And then also down there are a couple playlists for the Celestial News Weekly, which just talks about where the sun and the other classical planets are, what aspects are forming, what signs are going to be most affected, and how to practically work with that energy. And then also the Lunar Shenanigans, which talks about the moon astrology, what sign it's in, what phase it's in, when it goes void of course, and what aspects it's forming, and how the general feel of that day is. So all that lovely stuff's there for you. But until next time, stay mindful out there. Keep raising that vibration through the roof. And I will catch you on the next one. Later.